Technology. We talked about it earlier or later last year. It's about November we talked about it, but June in 2020 they came in with the technology that measures the tires. Right? It says that is it a good tire? Does it have enough air in? Is it flat? And now we see Virginia putting it in 2 more locations. And you know what? We always talk about technology, right? Some of the the benefits of it. The drivers, do they want the technology, whether it's with the e-logs or whatever? But let's face it, we've got to embrace technology because our, the DOTs out there, our customers are embracing technology. And little things like this, Dave, and buckle up, Bob, when you pull up to that scale house in Virginia, if they've got the ability to look to, without getting out, without having a tread depth, know that your tires are bad. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is going to be taking place. I saw this article. It was on I-81, Interstate 81. They're going to put it in 2 new stations up there. It allows for not only to mismatch tires, it's going to identify tires that are hot due to the low tire pressure because that's when they do get hot. And it's going to be able to identify tires that possibly will have blowouts out there on the road. And anything that can do, that can stop that from happening is needed. I mean, if you have a chance to stop tires from blowing out there on the road and causing wrecks, why wouldn't you want this technology? Absolutely needed. I'm all for it. I mean, I'm just all for it. It gives a chance to stop accidents from happening right then and there.
I'm all for it too, because anything that improves safety is needed. I always question if they can do the technology to check this stuff. Why can't they develop the technology to aid the drivers and the carriers in doing that during a pre-trip instead of catching them after there's a problem? Why can't we catch it before? Because not every truck and trailer comes through a terminal or a area that they can be inspected. I'm like, shouldn't they be able to focus on the technology, not only to help the weigh stations and stuff check it, to make sure drivers are doing their job, but we also need to get some focus on the technology for simple tools that drivers can use that makes inspecting, 18 tires a quicker and easier process each day, so that they're willing to more check the tires as well. So I think it's got to be twofold.
No, I agree 100%. The pre-trip is ideally where you want to catch problems and see and identify. But out there on the road, there are going to be times when you pick up something on the road, whether it be a nail or whether something happens out there that causes damage to the tire, and therefore it becomes ineffective or becomes dangerous. And this gives us an opportunity while you're out there driving, and if you don't know it, you could be driving another 300 miles on a bad tire. This gives us a chance to quick snapshot and say, hey, look, you have a tire that's running low. What's going on? Did you grab a nail? Did you do something? And you can pull over and take a look at it. You'd never know that driving down the road. This actually gives the driver a chance and the state a chance and everybody a chance to identify those dangerous situations as they occur. I'm not saying that the pre-trip isn't ideally where you want to spot problems. It is. I mean, without question, before you ever get out there on the road, there's going to be times when you do get out there that you're going to need help, and this gives help where it needs to be helped. I truly believe that.
Yeah, and and I can't help but think too. We talk about the economy, right? We bring the economy to this because I just can't help but think that all of a sudden now there's not going to be a few tire shops popping up around these areas as well.
Yeah, on site, across the street.
Yeah. I wonder, it's going to be the brother-in-law, right? Hey, brother, I got a tip for you. I've never been in the tire business. I don't know anything about it. Hey, just trust me. If you build it, they will come, right?
Right across the street from the scale house or right at the next exit, right?
Yes.
But, yeah, I mean, and not only that, but it does give us a chance out there. And I'm going to tell you, Bob, there's bad and good drivers, right? And this gives us an opportunity to catch the ones that aren't doing their job, right? This gives us also the ability to go out there and find and get those guys out of here that aren't checking their tires or running down the street. We've all seen it. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, driving down the road, and you see guys that don't care. They don't care what they pull, they don't care what they do, and they don't care how they act. And this gives us an opportunity to identify those easily and quickly out there on the road. I think this is technology. If it proves to be good, I think they ought to add it everywhere and anywhere.
I agree.
All right. Hey, we're going to go to a break real quick. Before we go there, though, drive safe and buckle up, Bob. What is your thoughts as we saw the news report come out as well that talks about the Rolls Royce, the Bentleys, the BMWs, their sales go up as those cheaper brands lag behind. And all I got to say is, great article on that, but I don't think there's many people out there looking at a Chevrolet Cavalier and saying, well, you know what, if you don't have it in stock, I'm just going to go get me a Bentley.
Yeah, I don't, that's kind of a luxury item. As we turn for goods, and goods, purchasing of goods, but I just don't think this is our real issue, the Bentley and the Rolls Royce and I don't think we're talking about, 80,000 of these things hitting the highways today.
Hey, but
wait a
here,
minute,
hey, do you see this guy right here next to me? He's coming up. He's going to take over the show, but this is a Rolls Royce Bentley kind of guy. It's that younger group of generation that just says, you know what, Dad? If you don't get me that, then if you can't get the Chevrolet Cavalier, Dad, hey, give me a Mercedes, give me a Bentley, give me a Benz. That's what we see right there. So, hey, listen, we're going to be back to you in about 60 seconds with some more BCB Live. Yes, indeed. If you didn't know it, we are that safest station in the nation.
Hi, this is David Dover, also known as Drive Safe Dave. You are watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Safety is what you want to talk about, and safety is what you want to be every single day. That's what we're here for. We're here to make it better.
The industry needs BCB Live so that it can find new and inventive ways to bring safety to the forefront for every single person out there on the road.
You got to be prepared to stop. And when you look at that and you understand the situation that you're in, you got to know that it's going to change. You got to expect it to change, and you can't run those lights.
You can watch BCB Live weekdays, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. So what are you waiting for? Follow and subscribe to BCB Live today. Hey everybody, it's Drive Safe Dave here with BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. As you know, winter is upon us, and with winter comes some difficulties and challenges. Now, if you live below or running below that 20 or I-10 corridor, you may not feel that pressure, but if you do, let's talk about a few little tips that we have. Tip number one, let's make sure we get over here and we drain these air tanks. Let's get that moisture out of there so that we make sure, because moisture and freezing cold temperatures don't mix. All they make is ice. Tip number two, remember when air temperature drops, so does pressure in these tires. You want to make sure that when you enter into or near cold temperatures, you make sure that your tire pressure is and cold pressure stays correct throughout these cold temperatures. You want to be safe out there because this is where the rubber meets the road. Tip number three, if it's extreme weather and extreme cold conditions, you may want to make sure that you use an anticoagulant or an anti-gel inside the diesel fuel so that it thins and doesn't gel up on you in the lines or anywhere else. Tip number four, as you know, when you enter into the West, there are certain regions that require you to have snow chains and or snow socks in that region. Make sure that you carry them. And tip number five, I'm going to give this one to you as a freebie. Carry with you a little bit of cat litter in your truck. That way, if you get a little bit stuck or if you get near a region that doesn't have a lot of grip, you can throw that down and give your truck that needed oomph to get out of those sticky or slippery situations. For more pertinent and safety information, you can always tune in Monday through Friday, Central Standard Time between 7 and 8 a.m. and get that needed information on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
You're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. BCB Live covers freight. Here we are now at 21% of record freight being rejected.
News down in Texas. We're going to talk a little bit about this. We had another $1.5 million seizure. If ever there's a time to do a pre or post trip, it's if you're doing something wrong.
Weather, traffic.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to some traffic and weather with Buckle Up Bob. You can kind of see where the visibility can be compromised a little bit. Again, right where that rain is.
And most importantly, safety.
One of the things that we must do is make sure that safety is the number one thing that we focus on.
Going into an intersection, yellow is not the way. That's to clear an intersection, not to enter an intersection.
Tune in weekdays from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can watch BCB Live through LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe today and follow BCB Live.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Drive Safe Dave here, along with Buckle Up Bob. Hey, did you see there was a article in there from the Department of Transportation that Secretary of Transportation is announced talking about how he's more in support of truck drivers out there, genuinely appreciates the work that they've done throughout this pandemic, and wants them to be not only recognized but also understands their needs, wants, and stuff. It was just good to hear that somebody from on top and on high is actually focusing on the drivers out there. And Buttigieg, I believe is his name. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm not the best at names, but it was, as you read through the article, he talked about several things about drivers, but just the idea that they're focusing on drivers themselves and what's going on out there, and some of the hardships that they play. And also he mentioned that their heroic acts through this pandemic, how it needs to be completely recognized.
It does need to be recognized, drive safe. And again, it's kind of what I brought up. I really would love to see the legislatures and stuff. Yes, we want to get the bad actors out of there, but we need to help and assist the good ones that just happen to run into a nail in the tire or something like that, and not ding them for it, but give them the information so that they can go down the road and get it repaired or whatnot. And I'd like to see that more and more. But the recognition, we've been doing that for years. But you're absolutely right. These drivers, what they've done, throughout these last 2 years, they leave their families. They go out in places that aren't necessarily, they don't know whether they're controlled or cleaned or whatnot. One of the things we want to encourage all drivers out there is to get with your company if you have a problem at a customer. I know we dealt with a couple of customers that wouldn't put 8 or 9 drivers, right, in a 8x8 room, and so it was things that just communicating with those customers that, hey, you can't put 8 drivers in an 8x8 room at one time. Call them, whatever, and some procedures changed there with that customer to help protect them out there. But the recognition is way past due.
Yeah, and it's not only just by what I like most, and I hope that spreads not from the Department of Transportation, but that it spreads across all governments and all branches, and because this is a government of the people, and I think once that is demonstrated not only in that executive branch, but that's portrayed over into the legislative branch, I think laws will change. I think you have to give recognition, and you have to give that notice of what's going on out there. And as the department, as their voice speaks up and they demonstrate the ideas of what's going on and the people that do the work, and allow us to see them for more than what we thought of them in the past. And I don't mean us within the industry. I'm talking about us within the country. Mm-hmm. It gives us a chance to highlight their accomplishments, highlight what they do and the difficulty by which they do it. And it also allows lawmakers to better understand what needs to be happen. We have a very damaged and strained supply chain, and anything that anyone can do to help benefit that will be a great deal. I did see several articles. We talked last week, remember, about the Canadian mandates that are going into place. They started on Saturday. We're going to see those effects throughout this week and see what it takes and what it's going to do to that border crossing and also that logistics chain that goes between the United States and Canada, and what it's going to take place this week and next. I already see a very strained system, but they are already imploring, the Canadian government to ease back the restrictions on trucking across the border. I know that the United States mandate failed last week under SCOTUS, but I'll tell you, it has to work on both sides of the aisle. I mean, it has to work on both sides of the fence when it comes to Canada.
Yeah, and in anything, you've got to have, it's got to be a teamwork effort. We talk about all the time here. You got to work together to better the industry, not be on sides and fight against it. What can you do to make the country safer out on the highways? Help the drivers that are out there. I think we might as well get ready for a lot of political ads coming up, because I already seen one last night where the governor of Texas, Mr. Huffines, is running for it, and they're already putting the COVID is going to be one of the top issues at these elections. And so I think when you start getting these other countries with these mandates and stuff, this is going to be a hot topic for a long time, especially this year, in election year, for a lot of these governors in these states.
Well, I do know there's going to be a lot going on when it and whatever it has to do to highlight these things. We've got to get something decided, and we've got to do what we can to mitigate some of these difficulties, especially in these open trade routes that we already have. Canada is a great trade partner with us in the United States and what they do and how they do, and to limit that in during this already economic difficulty. I noticed that there was a release that we are 15% less, that store shelves and supplies are down 15% across the country. That is unheard of. 15%. I mean, that doesn't sound like a lot. That's a lot of goods across this country that aren't making the shelves for everybody. And they attribute that a lot to people staying home, not going out as much, eating more at home. So the grocery shelves are going to even see more and more restrictions. I just think that is very, very, we can't limit the trade that we have with the country right now. I think it just is a domino effect.
Yeah, everything that we do, it's got to be in the mind to keep the country moving, keep that supply chain as open and free as you can do it. And that, like you said, crossing the border, we got to work something there out as well.
All right, we'll be right back in just a couple of minutes, and we will talk more about safety.
Hey everybody, it's Drive Safe Dave here with BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. As you know, winter is upon us, and with winter comes some difficulties and challenges. Now, if you live below or running below that 20 or I-10 corridor, you may not feel that pressure, but if you do, let's talk about a few little tips that we have. Tip number one, let's make sure we get over here and we drain these air tanks. Let's get that moisture out of there so that we make sure, because moisture and freezing cold temperatures don't mix. All they make is ice. Tip number two, remember when air temperature drops, so does pressure in these tires. You want to make sure that when you enter into or near cold temperatures, you make sure that your tire pressure is and cold pressure stays correct throughout these cold temperatures. You want to be safe out there because this is where the rubber meets the road. Tip number three, if it's extreme weather and extreme cold conditions, you may want to make sure that you use an anticoagulant or an anti-gel inside the diesel fuel so that it thins and doesn't gel up on you in the lines or anywhere else. Tip number four, as you know, when you enter into the West, there are certain regions that require you to have snow chains and or snow socks in that region. Make sure that you carry them. And tip number five, I'm going to give this one to you as a freebie. Carry with you a little bit of cat litter in your truck. That way, if you get a little bit stuck or if you get near a region that doesn't have a lot of grip, you can throw that down and give your truck that needed oomph to get out of those sticky or slippery situations. For more pertinent and safety information, you can always tune in Monday through Friday, Central Standard Time between 7 and 8 a.m. and get that needed information on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
All right, welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Drive Safe Dave here along with Buckle Up Bob. And we've got two men manning the boards today as it seems to be the yeoman's task of what we've got.
Just trying to build up, as we continue to encourage you guys. We got to make sure, producer, that we're letting this younger group, the new generation of, and here we go, talent, right? I mean, this is what it is. This is what we got. This is the talent we're giving y'all, and we're encouraging Drive Safe Dave. Hey, keep it up and let the other guy talk too. He's a camera hog.
I don't believe that I'm a camera hog. I don't believe that. But if that's what everybody thinks I am,
he's still going. He's still going.
I'm not even on camera. Now I'm on camera.
Hey, Bob, we were talking about I-81 though. Hop into that. When it talks about tires, the dangers of flat tires, what are your thoughts from a safety perspective about tire pressure, all of that go into the tires?
Over the years, I've learned stuff from drivers, and tire pressure is critical. For me, it's where, it's the one thing that connects every driver to the road. And so to me, it's the most critical. That and brakes have to be the two most life-protecting things you can do out there on the road. And when weather changes, and again, you got the summer heat can affect the tires, the winter cold, right? The pressure drops, the condition of the tires on the road surfaces. This weekend, we went from everything from snow to wind to ice to sleet to freezing rain to more snow. I mean, and it's just constant. And then you get the refreezing, right? Everything gets wet, and you get the refreezing. Tires are just so critical. And I think what the industry and drivers have to get out there is they've got to get out and not just check them the first thing in the morning. Conditions change, right? Especially in the summer when the heat and they get hot. You got to let them cool down. Drive Safe, you said it. Hey, what if you run into a nail or, I've seen ice cut tires, right? When you get into some of these roads that start to refreeze and you start getting that slush that refreezes, that will cut the sidewall of a tire occasionally. It acts like a knife. So I think tires are probably the most critical. And when I've talked to drivers that over the years that I've watched them for, when I've been at a company and they just never seem to have flat tires or tire issues, every one of the T has said, I check the pressures. I don't kick the tires. I literally put a gauge on the tires and find out my pressure. And then they make sure they're equal. Tires do not inflate and cool down and go back to the same. They're constantly ever changing. So it's important that pressure is checked regularly and often.
Yeah, you got to be, if you think about it and you go back and I hear what you're saying, some of the most difficult times, and especially in these inclement weathers where snow is falling, it hides things like curbs. It hides things that you can't see. It makes it more difficult on the roadway, and that can damage the tire. What we're talking about here, and when you get a little bit, maybe a couple of inches of snowfall, it may not be impassable to drive, but I'll tell you, it does make it really difficult to see those curbs as you go around corners, where they are and what's going on, and it's much more easier to curb a tire when you can't see where the tire is and you can't see where the roadway is. And you mentioned ice. It sank the Titanic. It was just a big ice cube. It sank the Titanic, and you saw the devastation that even simple that ice can do there. It can damage the vehicle. It can damage the tires. It can damage a lot. Ice has a real difficult play what it does too. But when you talk about tires, it's the one thing that drivers do very good job of when they do get out and they pre-trip. It is something that we have always gravitated to look at our steer tires, to look at our drive tires, to look at our trailer tires. It's something that drivers have done their whole career. It's what they do. They're probably some of the best by just touching their tire and feeling them, rubbing their hand over them, and trying to get a good idea of how much tread they have left, if there's any damages, if there's any irregular wear, and that all attributes to that condition of the tire contributes to how it will perform out there on the road.
You bring up a great point. If you pull up any pre-trip inspection video, anything that wants to train a driver how to do a pre-trip, every one of them has that driver touching every part of that, right? They're touching the tire. They're not looking. They're touching and feeling. They're touching the lug nuts. They are touching the equipment. They're not just walking around looking. They physically get out and feel things and hoses and things of that nature. So that's a great point. You got to touch the equipment, especially on some of the critical things like tires. Feel for that tread or the steel coming through it, right? Sometimes you may not see it.
Be careful, it'll hurt you.
Yeah, have gloves on. Yeah. Do not do it with bare hands. Have the proper PPE on there. But great point. You got to touch stuff.
Absolutely. So let's do the phrase that pays this week. Nobody got it last week. We're going to try something a little different. We're going to see if anybody we're going to continue on, and we're going to see if anybody can get the phrase that pays this week by continuing forward and seeing and kind of making it a little bit easier. Leave sooner, drive slower, live longer. Leave sooner, drive slower, live longer. Bob, what does that mean to you?
That is really hitting home this weekend with the weather. You've got to plan, right? Leave sooner. I don't know how many times people have said, well, I left with 15 minutes for a 12-minute trip or 10-minute trip. Why not leave an extra 5 or 10 minutes so that you can have that occasional traffic delay or whatever the case would be? So leave sooner, right? That allows you to go slower. You don't have to hurry, right? You don't have to rush. And then, of course, if you're not rushing and you're being patient and you're driving for conditions or even a little bit slower than what the conditions call for, you're going to live longer. It's inevitable. Slower speeds make you live longer. So that's what it means.
All right, there's the phrase that pays. We will be back, and Buckle Up Bob will go over weather in just 1 minute.
I'm ready. Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're going to jump right into the weather because this weekend brought a mix of everything. It was a fast-moving storm. It affected, probably since Friday, it's affected at least the 2/3 of the country from the Rockies, Denver, all the way east. And so we're going to kind of go into it a little bit and just kind of show you a little bit what the precipitation was and where it's doing, right? Right now, and I'm just going to go over some things. Virginia, you have some wet, slick roads. Both Virginias, Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey, Maryland. All the cameras that I was able to look at this morning, the roads are wet and traffic is moving. What we want you to do is encourage you to, hey, till 10 o'clock Eastern time, knock it down to 55 miles an hour or less, right? There still could be a patch of ice here. Some roads are slick. I've seen a couple, just a few pictures where a four-wheeler was off the side of the road where they lost control. That could be wet, could be a little bit of ice. But we know by 10 o'clock the temperatures usually warm up. The trucks, the state's emergency crews have been out a while and the roads are treated, and you're probably going to be better off because most of them are wet right now. But there are a few, I want to go over a few of the restrictions that you got. There is a section in New York. Let me zoom in here a little bit. It's right in around here from, right in the kind of just a little west of Syracuse, below Rochester. The highways are red. They are closed, all right? And then everything else is in pink, which means it is completely covered in snow and or ice. So New York, you've got some real trouble this morning. Pennsylvania yesterday, again, BCB Live, we talk a lot about the restrictions. Pennsylvania put a commercial motor vehicle ban, right? Basically on almost every major highway. You couldn't, and it's still in effect this morning as I looked. There is 45-mile-per-hour speed restrictions for vehicles. There is bans on empty trailers, bobtailing, right? Loaded trailers have to have chains, which, again, most of the companies out there, if you got a chain up, you shouldn't be driving. The conditions are bad enough to put chains on. They're bad enough to sit it out and protect life. Again, it's not about getting that freight there. It's about protecting life. You have to realize that. And the state of Pennsylvania has put in those restrictions. Again, you'd have to kind of go into the map. Again, you go to the fwh.gov, I believe it is, or FWHA and .gov, and you can click on any state and see what the lanes are. Again, most of it is pink. Right through the heart, mainly, all the main thoroughfares, they're either blue or green in Pennsylvania. So when you look on that, what that means is them all have commercial motor vehicle bans, right? If they're brown, the highways are in brown. They're telling you that there's a 45-mile-per-hour speed limit restriction on that particular highway. So again, go to that government map, the 511. Not every state has a 511, so I like using this one because you can click on every state and whatever they've got, they all have highway systems and weather maps and camera systems. So when you go to this, you can click on any state and it will zoom you into their website of what they got to do. And some do have the 511. Maryland, when I looked at its cameras, everything looked wet. So pretty good from the south portion. They didn't get what they thought. They got a little bit yesterday that made it treacherous and the refreeze, but that's starting to warm up. New Jersey looks pretty good and wet. Connecticut actually looked wet. So this thing kind of just came up right through here and didn't drift as east as they were predicting. Massachusetts, the turnpike has a 40-mile-per-hour speed restriction on it, okay? So 40 miles per hour if you're in Massachusetts. Again, keep an eye on your local stations. They'll give you updates when this stuff's lifted. We'll try to have updates too as well this afternoon to let you know just what happened with all these conditions. New York, just the southern part is supposed to hit freezing for about 2 hours today. Otherwise, none of this is going to really melt, and then it's going to refreeze pretty quick. So if you're in New York, I expect that all day today to have a problem. You're just not going to move. There may be some speed restrictions later on. So again, check with your local. I do expect the southern part of Pennsylvania actually to be open because, again, they're wet. Them conditions are going to improve, and they are going to reach above 50. Again, we saw freezing rain in North Carolina yesterday. That I-81 corridor was hit pretty good last night. So again, as it thaws today, it should be good. But drivers out there, you've got to take the refreeze for real, right? When these roads and you get 6-8 inches, yes, it starts to melt, but the highways are always going to be wet for a day or two, and they're going to refreeze. So you kind of want to, we talked about leave sooner, right? If you leave sooner and you make a plan, right, you can shut down and control your hours to when you're not driving from that 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. in the morning window if you can. Try to hit it above 8 p.m. in the morning. After the rush hour commute, keep your speed down for an hour or two. And then once it gets to 10, most of the roads really do get better. You got to watch for the patchy ice. You know, we've seen over the years where the roads were actually clear and drivers have hit patches of ice and they've caused some catastrophic accidents. So again, it's the unknown, which is really hard with weather. You may see wet, 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 and then for 10 miles, and then all of a sudden you run into a half mile of ice, right? And you think it's wet because it all looks the same. You just got to know the area has these conditions, and so you just got to treat them all as if they're ice or the potential's there, and keep that speed down to where you can manage your vehicle. Again, as we go through, we had lots of winds also, and so we want to show what we've currently got. Again, up here where that snow is, now you got the blinding snow is going to be blowing around. You can see New York. And we'll look at the current wind conditions. You see most of the strong winds are out here right on the coast. So inside, not too bad, but up here in New York, we've got some 32-mile-an-hour gusts right there on the lake itself. So all in all, though, it doesn't look too bad as far as our wind gusts. Currently, let's get some of them out of there. And you can see the rest of the country looks really mild to start this morning. As we go through the afternoon, again, this whole eastern side behind this storm pushing it out, you're going to see some very strong winds. DC area this afternoon, some 44-mile-an-hour gusts. Folks, drivers out there, anytime you get above 40, you are in real danger of being blown over. So again, if you're heavy, you can navigate 40, but you got to do it at 50 miles an hour. If you're empty, you cannot do it no matter what speed. So again, we use that 40 to 45, and you're going to have that potential today all the way up from the Carolinas and possibly Georgia, all the way up into southern Pennsylvania as it pushes that snowstorm. I think it was Winter Storm Izzy, they called it, out of the United States. But coming in behind it is these strong, strong winds. And then we're going to get some mild conditions as far as the wind goes. As we go into the evening, 8 p.m., you can see the winds do start to die down, but there's still some lingering potential 40 to 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. And then tomorrow morning, as we get ready, our commute, you kind of get back to a little bit normal. The winds should be very manageable. As we look into our temps, it's been cold, and I think we're supposed to see a warm-up. So we're going to see today the temperatures, you know, like I said, 25, and this is at 5 p.m. Let's go back to 2. There you go. You can see this little green area. It gets right at that freezing or slightly above, around 1, and then when you hit the 3 p.m. and 4, you can see it drops. So you're only going to get about an hour or two of above freezing temperatures up there in that northeast where you're getting all that snow, including some lake effect snow. But the rest of the country is going to warm up pretty good, as you can see, well above freezing in most areas. As we go into tomorrow, let's see what kind of temperatures we're going to see. And again, you can see that cold still hangs on in the northeast. So again, we got to watch that refreeze, right? This isn't going to, all of it's not going to go away very quickly like it does in Texas. But you can see the rest of the country looks pretty good, just normal January weather, if you will. And we can look at some forecasts, see what we got coming tomorrow. Not a whole lot. Again, it's just out in that northeast. And then for today, again, just the northeast, going to see some lingering showers. Hey, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and we'll be right back with some safety.
everybody, and we are back. BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Buckle up, Bob. What are we talking about this week?
We are going to talk about accident reporting. The next 2 weeks, drivers out there, we want you to understand what you can do to help yourselves and help your company, help your industry. As you've seen on the advertisement, the lawyers love to attack carriers, right? They want to blame the big rig. And just the commercials themselves give each and every one of you and us, just a bad rep to start out. We never start on a level playing field. We're going to try to help in the next 2 weeks give you some great information that's out there from lawyers, from websites and stuff that tell you what to do in an accident, and then some do's and don'ts we'll do next week. This first one is, the first thing and foremost, it's got to be about safety. So the first thing you do is you check your condition of yourself after an accident and those others that are involved in it. If there's any injuries, if you're not feeling right or something's hurting, you must get the medical attention en route right away, right? Call 911, get that medical attention out right away, and get the police en route so that everybody can be protected as quick as possible and get the medical attention they may need right away. So the first thing you do is check yourself, check the condition of others, and then get medical attention en route right away if needed. We're going to watch a little bit of videos there this morning as well. Again, just, whoa.
That's a little tight.
That is unnecessary, right? Is there, kind of dark, but I don't see any lanes ending.
Yeah, he decided to come over and get in. This is the popular lane, it looks like here, and definitely gave no room at all to come over. I didn't even see a signal. Did anybody see a signal?
No, I didn't see anything reflecting off of the back of that trailer.
I didn't even see a turn signal. I didn't even see him demonstrating coming over into the lane. There's no. It would have shown up. Oh, there it is. 1, 2, 3. That was 2 blinks.
Wow.
Wow, that's courteous.
Yeah, and folks, what you gotta do out here, I know nobody wants to slam on the brakes, but you gotta hit the brakes, whatever it takes to get as much space. Right here is dangerous. You gotta see that space, and we do see it increase, but boy, you just gotta see that increase quickly, quicker than that. Again, unbelievable what that is. That's the one where, again, as an industry, we've got a lot of markers here that are clear. So this is where companies out there, get this information and call these carriers, right? These drivers can't be doing this. They're hurting us all. They're hurting our industry. So this is something this year that I know we are going to really be focused on. When we can get the identifying information, we're calling the carriers. Already have called 3 this year. So again, you don't know what they're going to do with the information, but we've got to try to make a difference on this. There's just no room for this.
Yeah, that's a scary situation right there for sure, coming over that quick.
Here again,
Yellow light, and went into the intersection on a red. Heck, even stopped in the intersection.
Now blocking the intersection. Got to be prepared to stop. Patience, we say. This is, wow, where is it? This is in Florida, folks. So again, I just want you to, I've never seen an intersection this busy and just confusing, with the angles and the curves and stuff.
It's one of those new intersections of a whole video on it that I could pull up.
Really?
They're popular in Utah. Yeah, the cross one. So it gives you.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see what the confusing part is. It's red.
Yeah, there's nothing confusing.
You don't go. I mean, that's the part there that I'm looking at is red is red. It doesn't matter what's going on.
So it's yellow right here.
Stop.
Yeah,
you're not, this confusing part, you're not involved in it. You're not in it. These lights are probably timed to some degree that says, you know what, if you run one light, you're going to have to run the next one, or you're going to be in a bad situation. And again, if you're pulling a 53 foot behind you, this is just dangerous.
Yeah, there's nothing about this that says anything.
But it's going back to the basics, right? No matter how confusing that intersection is, if it's green, go. And if it's not, don't stop. You got to stop. I mean, it's yellow right now. You stop.
Yes.
What are you gaining?
Danger is what you're doing. Now you've just blocked this whole intersection.
Everybody to the right. Look at all these people.
Come on. Come on, man.
Come on, man. There you go. That's the second we got to do. Yeah. You're absolutely right. You know, like I said, the intersection is busy and weirdly designed, but the lights are still lights, right? Like you said, it's yellow. If you stop, we always say avoid the chaos, right? Get rid of the chaos. Well, you do that right here by stopping. There is no chaos if you stop, right?
Why would you go?
Yeah.
Why would you go?
Sorry, that was in Georgia.
Uh-oh.
Whoa.
Uh-oh. We're getting sideways here. And overcorrection. We're lucky that car didn't spin completely out of control.
And folks, this is what we're talking about. The road look good. Your lane looks clear, but you can see there's patches of ice, and that lane is not clear. Man, oh man!
If that right tail had gone into that ice, that would have been pointing right back at us. This is dangerous. And what here it is. What's weird about this? You see this car trying to merge in, man. Back off immediately. He doesn't want to come in behind you. He wants the right of way. He wants the road. Give it to him. Get out of the way. Just get out of the way. Crazy. Obviously, he cares very little for his own safety. You've got now to be patient. Get out of the way. When you see that happening, you need to be backing off big time to allow that car to just get completely out of the way.
I mean, so I hear what you're saying on that, and I'll ask the question. I mean, I don't see the truck here. I'm watching the truck right now. I mean, I think the truck's probably backing off the only way it probably can. It can't slam its brakes on.
No.
Right? I mean, I don't know if the truck did anything wrong.
No,
drive safe, Dave. I almost feel like, are you saying that we should have slammed the brakes, or what are you saying on that?
I'm saying that I would not slam the brake, but I would have applied the brakes here. I would have slowed down.
He did. You can look at the.
Yeah, I would have slowed down. I would have hit my Jake brake immediately.
I mean, were we slowing down at this at all?
Yeah,
49
look.
miles an hour.
Look at
Yeah,
this
they're
side.
slowing down on this. Again, you know what a bad
He sees that
situation
guy.
in here. He slows down. He's slowing down. I don't think you're jammed the brakes, but that car definitely got further away from us.
Yeah.
And the car, I'm sure, is slowing down at some point. But yeah, wow, how dangerous is that? And when you see that from the big truck, I'm going to say this is what great composure the driver had to not lose anything and maintain some distance. I think it was, from a driver perspective, again, I think the driver here, probably did a decent job. He may have been slowing down to allow the guy to pass. Who's passing on that side anyway? I mean, that nothing on that left lane looks safe.
No.
We got Mr. David Mason on the line here.
David.
Hey, good morning.
Morning,
Morning.
Mr. Mason.
I'm going to kind of back up drive safe on this one. If you look when he's first over in that left lane and the speed that the side of the road is going by, and then when he gets back in front of us, you can see the slowdown. I think what Drive Safe Dave is saying is when that dude is there beside you, that's when you need to slow down to that same extent you did when he got in front of you. Like, don't even wait for him to get back in front of you and start to lose control. Because you as a professional know how dangerous that lane is. You got to start backing out of it as soon as you see him over in the trash. And just get out of his way and let him go.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, and I hear what I'm going to go with. I hear what you're saying on that, Mr. Mason. And all I'm going to say is that I don't know from that video. I mean, we've got to go pull the graphics up to tell any of this. I don't think you can tell any of what you're saying on this video here. He could be slowing down on the video, and you don't see it on the film. Buckle up, Bob. I mean, you pull the graphics up on here. You would be I don't know when you can tell this, but, again, I'm going to say, the 10 seconds prior to this, we don't have that on video. We don't know what, we don't know what the driver's doing until that event happened. We don't know what we're doing, I guess, either.
Yeah,
And that's part of our investigation. We're going to go, we can get 60 seconds prior to this and see what the speeds were. We already know the conditions. They probably didn't change much in 60 seconds. So the road's probably that way. As you can see, it continues. But we can absolutely see the speed of the truck. Again, might have been doing 50, 55, But we talk a lot about the speeds when you're coming into these areas. And this is why we have you slow down. Most drivers would look at this lane and be doing 60, 65. But you got to be ready for this.
Yeah, the only thing I think David and I were talking about, that car was over in the left side of us before this. I mean, you could see him on the driver's side window. You can't see it in the video, but I guarantee you saw this driver long before this, before he entered the camera video area. running out in that trash, trying to pass you. What I was just saying is once he's out there and he's trying to act like a fool, you gotta let him go. I mean, that's all I was saying is just back off a little bit sooner. Let him. I mean, you're looking right down at him out of your left side of your window, way before this screen, and you're like, this dude's an idiot. Once you realize this dude's an idiot, you got to let him go.
Yeah, I agree. Because at some point he's in his left mirror.
Right there.
Right? And you see him gaining, and man, what a dangerous situation.
Is that like what the driver's probably doing is just let off the throttle and letting momentum slow him down while the guy's in the left lane.
Yep.
And that's why we can't really tell the extreme slowdown. But when the guy starts to lose control, is when the driver decides, okay, I better use the foot brake.
Yeah.
You know, is what it's like.
Absolutely. This is a dangerous.
Maybe he was just trying to let the momentum slow down on its own, and then it's like, oh, I got to use the brakes. I think is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and keep in mind, these videos are for training. What we want to discuss this with you all so that the next time you're in this situation, you can apply what you've shown and talked about and learned. And like I said, maybe there was an opportunity to just tap the brakes a little bit and take, again, if you take 5 miles out of this equation, it helps, right? Every reduction in speed helps you protect life.
I think what's happened here is, as you watch the video and you see the vehicle, that four-wheeler tries to accelerate, and once he tries to accelerate, that rear pushes out. He's trying to get out there in front of this truck, and he's trying to accelerate, and what it's causing that side to slip over a little bit. So, a lot's going on here, and a lot happening. Anyway, great video.
Scary.
Good video of what's going on out there.
Yeah, but I'm looking at the graphics now on this. So 50 seconds before this had happened, the driver is going 53 miles an hour. Once it happens, the driver slows down. You can see that toggle down in the speed when he's backing off towards the end. He gets all the way down to 20 miles an hour on that part. So yeah, so on what you guys are saying, you're saying, hey, earlier when you saw the driver trying to pass, trying to do what he's trying to do, hey, go ahead and toggle that down to 30 or 40 to let him get by you, and just to let him go, because he's going to do something like this. Anyway.
Yeah, he's going to get crazy.
Yeah. Gotcha.
We got Mr. Alex Rodriguez.
That's who it was. Hey, Rod.
Good morning, Alex.
Let's see. You're self-muted. Try unmuting yourself if you can. You might type it out, so give him a second on that.
Yeah, we can come back to him. Hey, great job anyway. Great job to avoid what's going on, and I really appreciate the video, 100%. This really tells the story of what's going on out there and what you guys face each and every day. It is a obstacle course in and of itself, every moment, every second, and you got to be paying attention to what's going on. You can already tell, look at the hoods. Everybody's getting hammered. The snow everywhere. It is one of those days, right? It is going to be one of those days.
I Gary, he's got to pull over and change his underwear because I tell you what, he thought he was going over. I thought he was going over. Again, got to watch.
Got some brake lights going on up ahead.
Good job at this driver passing. Right, 2 lanes and then.
Oh yeah.
But really good job at keeping the space. Right. Just a great job.
I like the big picture. What a great big picture of what's happening in front of us. Even though the chaos is up there, even though they're just not doing the right thing, great job. I'll bet it even looks like we slowed down just a hair. I think I like everything about this video.
Yes.
Except the way they drive. Except the way they're driving in front of us.
Yeah, that's the only bad thing in this video. Great job out there. Again, was Alex able to get on?
Fortunately, he looks like he's still self-muted.
Probably doesn't have a mic, maybe.
Gotcha. We have.
But I'll tell you some of the great videos. As we continue to see these, and I think that's one of our first very strongly inclement weather videos that we've had this year on the show, and we're going to continue to see more and more of those. We had a pretty mild December, right? Mm-hmm. And even the beginning of January was pretty mild across the country, and now we're really starting to see winter take its grip across the country and its effects on the road. And it doesn't matter, and I've come to learn, it doesn't matter that first snowfall, that first ice, that first whatever it is in any region of the country, it seems to take its big victims, and then everybody understands how serious it is, right?
Right.
The first day out, there's cars all over the place bumping into things, sliding, slipping. They forget how dangerous it is, and then all of a sudden by day 2, everybody's like, whoa, we need to slow down. It's getting crazy. So as you see this winter encroach these areas that hadn't been there this year, you're going to see those inexperienced people, and also they're going to go, uh-oh, I do need, once they've slid through an intersection or slid past the stop sign or lost control of their vehicle once, then they tend to slow down a little bit and realize the seriousness of what's happening out there.
And I think that's the hardest challenge for drivers, carriers, everybody involved, safety personnel, driver managers. You know, this industry so much is reactionary, right? We react to this or that and that. And it's tough to get out in front sometimes and be proactive. And that's one thing, folks, tune into BCB Live, right? The safest station in the nation, because you're going to get those videos that can show you what to do so that you can be proactive, right? Instead of reacting to that driver, right? We learned a few things that maybe we can do just to be safer. It wasn't that this driver in the truck was unsafe. It's just, hey, there is maybe 1 or 2 things that can help you for the next time to be even safer.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about. And that's that proactiveness versus reaction. So you don't have to react to the idiots out there. You know they're coming. So
Yeah,
you can be prepared for them.
Absolutely. And I want to say thank you to the drivers for their videos.
Yes.
100%, especially when they show us what's going on out there and let us know what they see, and that way we can learn from them 100%. You know, we take the opportunity to share these videos so that we can watch game footage and video to learn and to gather strength in numbers, right? So the more we know out there on the road, the better we are to make better decisions and to do better things out there. Bob, you want to go ahead and close us in prayer?
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for returning each and every driver safe this weekend through the horrible storms that hit most of the country, Lord. We thank you for their decision making, for being safe and protecting life and everything. Heavenly Father, continue to guide them. Continue to work on their hearts to believe in safety first and that nothing else matters besides you, Heavenly Father. You, and then just make the good, safe decisions. Lord, return them, each and every driver, home to their families. When it's time to do so, Lord, protect them and keep them in your care always. And it is in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
All right, thank you, Bob. Hey, everybody, be careful out there. Be mindful. It is ever-changing, ever-changing environment in which you drive. So be careful, be safe. We'll see you this afternoon. Bye-bye, everybody.